Gaza, where this Sunday the Israeli military announced it would halt its operations for 11 hours each day to allow for the movement of humanitarian aid. The pause would only concern parts of the south and take place from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. local time. That announcement comes as aid groups warn of a growing risk of famine in southern Gaza, and a day after 8 Israeli soldiers were killed in a blast near Rafah. Well, the Israeli military emphasized that despite the pauses, the fighting there would continue. Well, for more, we can cross now to our Jerusalem correspondent, Irris Makler. Irris, what else can you tell us about these daily pauses and how they came about?
It began yesterday. It is 11 hours long from the south, Israel's border with Egypt effectively. There'll be a corridor that will reach the south and center of the Gaza Strip, delivering aid there. It came about, by the way, I don't recall a longer pause in the previous temporary pauses that have been here. I don't recall an 11-hour pause. And it came about because of the closure of the Rafah border crossing. You'll remember that Israeli troops took that crossing on the 7th of May. Egypt, which is that border crossing there, closed it. So most of the aid that came into the south is not coming in. It's had political ramifications inside Israel because we heard this was announced yesterday and the politicians said, we don't know anything about this, including the Prime Minister and the Defence Minister. And then they demanded a clarification and were told that fighting would go on in the north and in the night, but that this was being done for humanitarian reasons. There was a lot of criticism of the military for making this decision, and I've just seen a pushback from them saying it was a military decision. It was done on the general instructions of the politicians, which were that in light of the ICC criticisms of Israel, the ICJ, the International Criminal Court of Justice criticisms of Israel, they were taking this step. So despite all the political ramifications inside Israel, it seems it is continuing, and we don't know how long it will go ahead for, perhaps until the Rafah border crossing opens.
And here's these daily pauses could help with aid, but they're far from the ceasefire that civilians want. Frustration is really growing on both sides.
That's right. We report a lot about the protests against the Israeli government because they happen every week and because they can happen here. It's much harder to protest in Gaza. Hamas took power by force in 2007 and it's held power by force since then. Today is the Eid al-Adha, one of the most holy days, a celebration actually in the Muslim calendar and a time for reflection. And the Gazans who are reflecting don't like what they see about their lives. And they have been protesting not on the streets, but on social media. Lots of criticism leveled against Hamas, lots of criticism along the lines of, why have you not agreed to a ceasefire? You're looking after yourselves, your prisoners who you want released from Israel and not us, the civilians in Gaza. And a refrain we hear all the time from people who leave and on social media in waves is, you Hamas have built tunnels for the protection of Hamas, even for the protection of Israeli hostages, but not for the protection of us, the civilians of Gaza. So we're seeing that on this holy and very sad Muslim holiday.
Well, hopefully those messages will be heard on both sides. Irris, thank you so much for that update. That's our Jerusalem correspondent there, Irris Makler.